What if the war you're fighting every day isn't out there, it's inside you? You wake up already anxious, you check your phone before you breathe, you carry yesterday's arguments into this morning's silence, and by noon you've already been robbed of something you can't name. The Stoics called it hegemonikon, the ruling faculty, the command center of the soul. And they warned us more than 2,000 years ago that if you don't govern it, life will. Marcus Aurelius ruled an empire. He was surrounded by betrayal, war, plague, and loss, and yet historians say he was the calmest man in Rome. His secret wasn't power, it wasn't wealth, it wasn't even wisdom granted at birth. It was a set of silent daily habits, invisible to everyone around him, practiced in the margins of his days, that kept the storm of the world from reaching the center of who he was. These were not grand gestures, they were whispers of discipline, quiet acts of mastery so subtle that most people walk right past them. Today, we're going to uncover those habits, the ones the Stoics lived by but rarely shouted about. Because inner peace isn't found, it isn't given, it is built, one silent habit at a time. 1. The habit of the morning examination. Before the Stoics touched the world, they examined themselves. Marcus Aurelius began every morning not by planning what he would conquer, but by preparing what he would endure. He would sit in stillness and rehearse the day ahead, not with dread, but with philosophical readiness. He reminded himself, "Today I will meet ingratitude, I will meet arrogance, I will meet impatience, and I will not be surprised by any of it." This is what psychologists today call negative visualization, a Stoic tool so powerful it actually increases gratitude and reduces anxiety simultaneously. When you prepare your mind for friction, you stop being ambushed by it. The morning examination is not pessimism, it is armor. The habit is simple. Spend 5 minutes each morning asking yourself, what challenges might arise today? What virtues will I need? Then name them. Speak them aloud if you must, because what you name you can face, and what you face cannot defeat you. 2. The habit of choosing your response. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. The Stoics devoted their entire philosophy to widening that space. Epictetus, born into slavery and freed with wisdom, taught that no one can take your peace unless you hand it to them. The event itself, the insult, the traffic, the failure, the rejection, is neutral. It is your judgment about the event that creates suffering. Change the judgment, change the life. This is not denial. You are not pretending the hard thing isn't hard. You are simply refusing to add a second layer of suffering on top of the first. The Stoic habit here is the pause, a single breath between what happens and what you say or do next. In that breath lives your freedom. Practice this daily. When something irritates you, before you speak, before you react, ask, "Is this within my control? And if not, why am I giving it power over my peace?" The answer, repeated enough times, restructures the brain itself. 3. The habit of voluntary discomfort. The Stoics did something that seems almost radical today. They regularly chose discomfort on purpose. Seneca, one of the wealthiest men in Rome, would spend days eating only bread and water, wearing rough clothing, sleeping on the floor, not as punishment, but as practice. He called it melete, rehearsal. He was rehearsing poverty so that poverty, if it ever came, would find him unafraid. This habit quietly destroys anxiety at its root. Most of our fear is not about present danger, it is about imagined future discomfort. We fear losing comfort so much that we become enslaved to maintaining it. The Stoic antidote is to periodically walk toward mild discomfort voluntarily. Skip a meal, take the cold shower, stay off your phone for a day, speak the truth when silence would be easier. Each act of voluntary discomfort sends your nervous system a message, "I can handle this." Repeated enough times, that message becomes a belief, and that belief becomes peace. 4. The memento mori, remembering death. This sounds dark. The Stoics knew that. They did it anyway. Memento mori, remember that you will die, was not a morbid obsession. It was a clarifying lens. When you hold your mortality lightly in your hands, the trivial things fall away, and the essential things glow. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you say and do and think." Not to fill him with fear, but to fill him with focus. When you remember that your days are numbered, you stop spending them on arguments that don't matter, on grudges that poison the soul, on the endless performance of being someone you're not. The daily habit is this: pause once each day and ask yourself, if today were my last, would I spend it the way I'm spending it? You don't have to say yes every time, but asking the question is enough to redirect the compass, quietly, gently, and without drama. 5. The habit of journaling without audience. Marcus Aurelius never published his meditations. They were never meant for anyone else. He wrote them for the same reason you sharpen a knife, not to show the knife, but to keep it sharp. Journaling, for the Stoics, was not a social act. It was a private audit of the soul. Each evening, Seneca asked himself 3 questions. What bad habit did I put right today? What fault did I resist? In what way am I better? Not to celebrate, not to condemn, but to see clearly. We live in an age that has turned inwardness into performance. We post our thoughts, narrate our feelings, curate our spiritual journeys for strangers. The Stoics would find this deeply strange. The inner work, they believed, must happen in silence, or it is not inner work at all. The habit is right, privately, without an audience, without editing for impression. Right to know yourself, right to catch yourself, right to remember that the person you are becoming is being built in the spaces no one else sees. 6. The habit of loving what is. Amor fati, love of fate. It was the Stoics' most advanced teaching and perhaps their most radical. Not acceptance, not tolerance, not making peace with what you cannot change, love for it. Nietzsche borrowed this from the Stoics and called it the highest formula for affirmation. The idea is staggering in its simplicity. Everything that happens to you, the loss, the failure, the betrayal, even the grief, is the exact raw material your soul needs to become what it is supposed to become. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "A blazing fire makes flame and brightness out of everything that is thrown into it." This is the Stoics' view of the self under pressure. You are not diminished by difficulty, you are refined by it. The habit of amor fati is not passive, it is practiced through language. When something goes wrong, catch the first word you reach for, disaster, tragedy, failure, and replace it with a question. What is this teaching me? What is this building in me? The words you use to narrate your life become the life you believe you are living. 7. The habit of silence as discipline. The Stoics were remarkably suspicious of too many words. Epictetus said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and we should use them in that proportion." But the Stoics went further. They weren't just asking you to listen more, they were asking you to guard your inner world from the noise of the outer one. In every crowd, every conversation, every scroll through the endless churn of opinion and outrage, your peace is being tested. Not attacked, tested. Because the question is always, will you be moved? Will you be pulled from your center? The Stoic who has cultivated silence as a discipline is not antisocial, not cold, not disengaged. They are simply rooted deeply enough that the wind bends them without uprooting them. The habit is create daily silence, not meditation necessarily, simply absence of input. Walk without headphones, eat without a screen, sit in a room without filling it with sound. Let your own mind surface. What rises first is usually what most needs your attention. 8. The habit of serving others without expectation. This is the Stoic habit most people miss because they assume Stoicism is only about the individual.
But Marcus Aurelius wrote often of sympatheia, the deep interconnectedness of all human beings. We are not isolated atoms, we are cells in a living body. And the Stoic who tends to only their own inner peace while ignoring the suffering around them has misunderstood the philosophy entirely. The habit is not charity performed for recognition. It is the quiet act of asking, who needs something I can give right now? And then giving it without announcing it, without recording it, without weaving it into your identity. The Stoics called this living kataphusin, according to nature. And our nature, they believed, is fundamentally social, fundamentally caring. When you serve another person without expectation of return, you step outside the economy of ego entirely, and in that stepping out, you find something most people spend their whole lives looking for, the feeling that you are in this moment.
And so we return to where we began, to the question of what it means to be at peace in a world that never stops pulling. The Stoics didn't promise you a life without pain. They promised you something more valuable, a self that pain cannot destroy. These habits, the morning examination, the chosen response, the voluntary discomfort, the memory of mortality, the private journal, the love of fate, the practice of silence, the service without expectation, none of them are dramatic. None of them will trend. None of them will earn you applause. But practiced quietly, day after day, in the invisible moments of your life, they will do something no applause ever could. They will make you free. Not free from circumstances, free within them. And that, Marcus Aurelius would tell you, is the only freedom worth having. The world will not slow down for you. The noise will not quiet itself on your behalf. The people around you will not always choose wisdom or kindness or truth. But you can, quietly, consistently, one habit at a time. Start today. Start in the silence before the world wakes up. Start in the pause before you react. Start in the 5 minutes before sleep, when you ask yourself, who did I become today? That question, asked faithfully, is not just a habit, it is a life. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength.